Welcome back to This Bytes for You. This is the second part in building a gaming machine video. In the first part, I showed you how to build that computer back there from the ground up. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how to connect all the cables so that you have a perfectly working machine. And then also, I'm going to make it look nice and pretty. That way you can show it off to all of your friends. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, again, link up above the first part of the video down below as well. That way, in case you don't want to skip this video, and every single piece that you see in this build video is going to be in the description down below. So come over here real quick and let's get started. Again, this is the machine that we built in the previous video. Now we're going to be installing the EVGA Supernova 1000G Plus power supply. Now, in this case, very original case by DeBauer and Lee, the power supply installs in the back. So we just remove this side plate and we're going to go ahead and install the power supply down here, but you do have the option for installing it up here as well. So in order to install it, first we're just going to go ahead, move all the cables out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this panel. That just gives us a lot more room for working with some cables back here. Okay, we're just going to slide these cables back here just for right now and then turn the case around. Then we're going to go ahead, slide in the power supply with the fan facing outwards. Just line it up over here. It's going to line up with the screw holes right over here. And I'll just screw all those in right now. Okay, so this is a fully modular power supply. So I've gone ahead and connected the 24-pin ATX power for the motherboard. Then I've connected over here, okay, 2 8-pins. Now these are for CPU power. As you can see right over here, CPU. These are also known as the EPS power connector. Now, this motherboard utilizes an 8-pin, one of these guys, and a 4-pin. Now, this has the ability to split in two, so we can just connect a 4-pin and leave this one behind. On this particular motherboard, it has the 4-pin for extra power for overclocking if you wanted to, which we will later on. Setting those aside as well. Then we have two SATA power connectors, 2 strands that each come out to 3 SATA powers. Then a Molex has 3 Molexes that we're going to be using for the ARGB fans. Then we have 3 6+2-pin PCIEs required for the video card. Yes, you need to plug in all 3 of them. So since this motherboard has the 24-pin power up here at the front, we're gonna go ahead and slide that in through these rubber grommets and just have that seated there for right now. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the 2 8-pin EPS CPU powers and slide that into the grommet up here for later. Now we're just prepping where everything goes to make life a little easier. And then we're also going to be pushing up in the front the 3 8-pin PCIe powers, or 6+2-pin. And I'll go ahead and slide that in the same grommet as the 24-pin EPS. Just sliding those all out of the way for right now. Now, if you remember, we also had that extra SATA SSD up on the rear side of where this power supply goes. So what we can do easily is grab one of the SATA power connectors and just go ahead and slide it in through that hole down there. And again, we'll get to that in 1 second. Now these two we're keeping just right out here for now because these will be for the ARGB fans. So keeping that out here for right now. All right, so coming around the front, actually, I did forget. Now we're going to be going ahead and also feeding in these guys. So this will be for your front panel headers, your power, reset, and LEDs. And since those are on the very bottom through here, I'm gonna go ahead, slide it behind all the other cables and just slide it into the little holes down there. Now that one doesn't have rubber grommets, but that's okay. Then we have the USB 3 header, which is going to go along the very same one as the PCIe power and the 24 pin. And then we have the front panel header for audio. I'm gonna go ahead, slide that in behind everything and under everything, and then slide it in the same hole that we slid that SATA power connector to. Okay, and then the last cable on here is the USB-C cable, and I don't remember where it is on this board, so let me go ahead and spin it around. Okay, it's going to be right over here next to the ATX 24 pin. So I'm going to have to clip this out of the way. Then this is just a zip tie, and we have a ton of them. And that way it gives me a little bit more room to slide it in through here, and we can get to in 1 second. Okay, so now since we're going to be installing all these cables, I'm going to go ahead and remove the video card just to make things a little bit easier to see. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the SSD real quick. Okay, so first off, we're going to want to connect the front panel header cable. Quick break. So I wanted to let you guys know, when I first started building her, I didn't know what to call her. So I reached out to my Twitter, my Facebook, and my YouTube community and put up a poll on what I should name her. The winner, Scott Elder with Red Dawn. Now, it's a pretty common name, but I didn't have any choice. You decided for me. Thanks, Scott. I will be rewarding Scott with a random Steam game and maybe a few others. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about Red Dawn and anything else. For front panel audio, okay, you'll notice there's a little closing right over here, and then there's an opening right over here. That way we know exactly where to plug in that cable and how to plug it in. Coming over here, we'll notice these are the front panel headers for power, reset, power LED, and HDD or SDD activity. Asus made it really easy with this little guy here. There they show you the HDD, LED, ground, reset. On the other side, ground, power, power LED, plus and negative. So grabbing this cable, we can easily know exactly what we need. So over here, power LED, positive, right there, power LED, negative. And then over here, power ground, right down there. Okay, and flipping it over, then we have HDD LED, positive and negative, and the front panel header also shows us that. So we'll slide it right in there. Now this case doesn't have the reset, so we won't be using that. And now because of this blocked off portion right here, we know exactly where to plug it in down here. So that makes it really simple. Myself, I don't like to use that, but I'm showing you guys how to build, so it's not about me right now, it's about you. Okay, so zooming out, we'll go ahead and connect that USB-C connection right here. I know that is the most difficult to plug in, but yeah. All right, and then we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and bring the PCIe cables just below everything else. Okay, and then that way it's a little hidden coming out of here. Now we're going to go ahead and plug in the 24 pin ATX cable. All right, this cable is for overall power to the motherboard. And then you'll see a little clip right here. That clip is going to align with this clip right over here. So I just have to turn it around and just plug it in. You'll hear it click. Let me take this panel off. Another awesome thing about this case. Okay, and then we can see right over here, it's not clicked in just yet. There we go. Now it's clicked in, so you could pull on it and it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, and then coming around the top, we're going to go ahead and plug in the power cable for the liquid cooling unit. That's also going to give power to this up here. So we'll just plug it into the CPU fan header, which is right over here, the middle one. Okay, and then can't forget the CPU power up here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead, pull them out of here. Then I'll go ahead and connect the 8-pin CPU first. So I'm just lining these up so they click in. Okay, so that's in there. And then again, the 4-pin or 8-pin. Then for this one, we have to match up these pins with the header over here. So just be careful when you install that. Okay, so that went in very easily. And we'll adjust all these cables in a second. So Amazon just showed up and delivered my Crucial MX500 SSD. So I'll get to install that as well. And perfect timing. So just go ahead and install the power cable right over here. Just going to set that down for now. Now to install the SATA cable. Now the motherboard comes with 4 of these guys, 2 that are like these, and 2 that one side is straight and the other side is right angled. So I'm going to use the straight angled here. Going to plug that in right over here into the SSD. And I'm going to go ahead and slide that into the opening on the case down here. Now, also doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and slide in the additional power connections we don't need back through. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and screw that drive right back into place. All right, and we'll go ahead and bring that cable back around through the bottom of the case, through a grommet, and into a SATA port in a second. Now we'll go ahead and connect the USB 3 right into here. Okay, this again gives us USB 3 to the front of the case. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and slide the video card back in place. Now just go ahead and screw that in. Now we'll go ahead and plug in the PCIe power connections. Just do this one first, just to show you afar. Now let me zoom in to the bottom to show you where the clip clips into. Okay, now with the second cable, you'll notice there's a little clip right here on the video card, and there are some clips down here. That clip is going to go ahead and clip right into place as soon as we insert this right in there. All right, that secures the video card in its place. And now just coming in from a different angle, and you'll still be able to see the clip down here. All right, so now the card has been installed completely. Now we just need to sort out some of those cables. All right, so now for the most part, we have the entire system cabled. We're going to add in these Montech ARGB fans, which are awesome. I've already been using a separate pair, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and just make all the cabling perfect so that we can introduce that in next. I'm going to go fast forward on this part for you guys, but still you'll be able to capture the entire thing. So let's get started. I forgot about the SATA cable, so we're just going to go ahead and slide that in under all the cables and then push that through the grommet in the front. Okay, and then you should be able to get a great angle right here of the SATA ports right along here. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug it into right here. Okay, and it clicked into place with that metal locking mechanism that it has. And let's go ahead and sort through all the cables now. All right, so we're done there. That was actually a lot quicker than I thought. Now, I'm realizing with these Montech fans, I don't need the separate controller that it brings, which is super handy. I had to use it for my last build because the Z390 Dark from EVGA doesn't have an ARGB header, but this has some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use them through the board. I'm not going to have to use the controller, which allows me to get rid of one of the SATA power connections. So let me start that up and I'll install everything again in fast forward. This part may not be that interesting. So now with the way the ARGB cables are made, we'll keep the female end out over here, and then we'll grab the second cable, or the second cable coming from the fan. We'll plug in the female to the male side over here. Then we'll plug in the female side from this side over here as well. And now we'll take the female end, slide it through here, And we'll go ahead and plug it right up here. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Right over here, notice 2, 3. So we'll just flip it and then connect it right over here into the ARGB header. All right, so now we have those connected. Okay, and after connecting that ARGB connection, going to go ahead, put the cap back on this open connection. We don't want that hitting anywhere on the case and potentially shorting out the fans. Now that we have all these fans settled in, and I've joined all 3 Molexes together, so I'll just separate it real quick. Okay, these all came from these fans. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and join all 3 together and then connect it to the Molex over here. Now, what I'm going to do with all these additional cables is just bundle them up, make them look nice, and hide them as we've done already. I'll probably go ahead and slide them in this tray. This tray is not only for an additional power supply if you wanted, it's also for SSDs. So if you wanted more, since we didn't need this extra cable, I'll just go ahead and disconnect it and put it back in the power supply box so I don't lose it. Now, no one wants to see these unsightly cables. It's just ugly. You could spend a whole lot of time organizing them, making them look amazing, or since you have this case, doesn't that look beautiful? Simple, yet effective. All right, now this is going to go ahead and over time settle itself down a little tiny bit. The system is 100% cabled, looking beautifully. I'm not a huge fan of the way these kind of planned out, but they'll go ahead and settle down a little bit over time. But right now we have a fully functioning system. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to make another video on powering it up for the first time and then installing Windows onto the Sabrent drive. And then after installing Windows, installing all the drivers, configuring everything in the BIOS, flashing the BIOS, and doing everything just to help you guys out 100%. All right, so now that we finally have the system fully built and fully cabled, in this next video, we're going to be going over how to flash the BIOS, how to install Windows, how to install all of the drivers, and how to configure everything in the BIOS. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me on this ride. It's been an awesome ride for me. I hope you've enjoyed it too, and I hope I've shown you a few things as well. Stay tuned for the next few videos. Iggy out. See you guys.